Just a few years ago, Elizabeth Holmes graced the covers of Forbes, Inc., and Fortune, hailing her as the next Steve Jobs, a young founder with these huge, innovative visions, a former Stanford dropout who would go on to achieve her billion-dollar dreams with a company and a concept that would completely change the medical industry. But over the next 11 years, a 8 by 6 foot sail will replace her mansion. Her green juice vegan diet will be replaced by bologna sandwiches and mystery meat. And her billion-dollar bank account will be replaced by a $100 commissary account. Why? Because soon, she's gonna be heading off to prison. Just a few months ago, I did a video breaking down Elizabeth Holmes, her company Theranos, and the many crimes that she committed while climbing the ranks as one of the world's most innovative startup founders. I'll leave that video linked down in the description in case you want to learn more. But just to give you a quick brief, at 19 years old, she founded a medical technology company called Theranos. The company supposedly owned technology that could run detailed blood tests with just one single drop of blood. So think of it like Ancestry.com, but for medicine. So you send in a drop of blood and the technology analyzes it for the presence of antibodies or antigens. And honestly, this will really be a medical breakthrough. Instead of needing several vials of blood to make a diagnosis, the machine only needed one single drop. And that's pretty unheard of, which is probably why there was so much skepticism in the medical community about whether it was actually even possible. And come to find out, it actually wasn't, at least not with Theranos' solution. Because while Holmes and her team swore that they had it all figured out, the technology actually didn't even work. But she kept that part a secret, and she went out and raised almost $1 billion in funding and started building partnerships with national companies like Walgreens. Being a startup founder, and especially one of a huge business, comes with massive responsibility. When you're out there raising funds, you have to open up your books, be clear about your business plan, and let investors know exactly what they're getting themselves into so they can make an informed decision. The minute that you start misrepresenting your business and accepting money under false pretenses, well, that's called fraud. And at that moment, you're really no better than Bernie Madoff, and your business is no better than a Ponzi scheme. And that was Elizabeth's biggest mistake. While she was benefiting from her new reputation as a business titan and an innovative genius, her company was really never more than just an unvalidated idea. And come to find out, the company actually used third-party devices for its testing, not the technology that they claimed to have built. She even added logos from Pfizer and other large pharmaceutical companies to give the impression to partners that those companies had actually validated Theranos' blood testing technology, which, by the way, they didn't. Nor did they give permission for their logos to be attached to the lab reports. Look, you can't just take $1 billion from people under false pretenses and then expect that no one is ever gonna raise an eyebrow. And as it always seems to happen, on June 14th, 2018, she was charged with fraud. And then in July 2020, a federal grand jury brought forth a superseding indictment charging her with 2 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 10 counts of wire fraud. One of the accounts alleged that she defrauded investors by misrepresenting Theranos' technology, and another count alleged that she defrauded patients who had went and purchased the company's services. At the time, she faced a maximum sentence of 20 years, plus a possible $250,000 fine and restitution. And for the next 2 years, she sat there as a disgraced founder, awaiting her sentence. And well, unfortunately for Elizabeth Holmes, that time has finally come. Last Friday, she was sentenced to more than 11 years in prison, with an order to surrender herself on April 27th, 2023. And honestly, in my opinion, she got off pretty light because the prosecutors who brought the case to court actually sought out a 15-year prison sentence, 3 years of supervised release, and $804 million in restitution, the amount that they said Theranos defrauded from later stage investors and business partners. Judge Davila, who sentenced Elizabeth, says that the amount of restitution that she'll end up owing is still being decided. However, he did sympathize with her a little bit since she didn't use investors' money to finance a luxurious lifestyle the way that many other white-collar criminals do. Ultimately, she was using the funding to get the technology up to par. But again, her access to almost $1 billion in capital was fraudulent from the beginning. So it really didn't matter what she was spending it on, it was still super illegal. Federal prosecutor Jeffrey Shank made it clear, however, that Even if she didn't use the money to enhance her lifestyle, raising the funds gave her fame and admiration and ultimately enhanced her lifestyle anyway. During the sentencing hearing, pregnant Elizabeth, now carrying her second child, stood up and spoke to the court saying, "I loved Theranos. It was my life's work. I am devastated by my failings." While she may have taken responsibility for the business itself and may even feel bad about not being able to bring her vision to life, she never mentioned feeling sorry for the investors or the customers and partners that she ended up defrauding. She also didn't mention being sorry that her baby, you know, the one that she's pregnant with, would be without a mom for the next 11 years. But only that her real baby, which is Theranos, wasn't able to live up to its expectations. Although there are thousands of hilarious memes about Elizabeth Holmes, and Theranos has become the laughing stock of Silicon Valley, there really is a takeaway here that entrepreneurs need to consider. Because honestly, she's not the only one out here that's faking technology. Plenty of companies market themselves as artificial intelligence companies, for instance, when there are really humans on the other end doing all the work, not computers. The excuse or the reasoning is that they are testing the concept before building the technology, which I'll admit is actually a valid reason. But there's a very thin line between what's legal and what's illegal when it comes to startups. And sometimes faking it till you make it can land you in prison. A few white lies here, hiding a few details when you're approaching investors, and overselling your product to customers could land you in a lot of trouble. White collar crime is still crime, and those charges can still stack up and lead you to spend decades in prison. Just like Gears TV founder Omi and a Hellcat, who built a multi-million-dollar business and a luxury lifestyle while committing serious copyright infringement. At one point, he was facing up to 514 years in prison. That's another super wild story that we've been following on this channel, and you can learn all about it right here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care and keep doing amazing shit.